Hello and welcome back, everybody. It has been a long time since I've recorded one of these videos, and I do apologize for that. The main reason for that is because, as I stated in the community post, the machine translator had started to become a pain in my ass, and it was not translating things, and I could not figure out how to get it to work. It just seems like it just worked whenever it felt like it, basically. So that was just really annoying. And I just didn't really want to put up with that. So when I heard they were working on a fan translation, Tsukihime, the people behind this translation, I decided, okay, maybe it's best to just wait and continue the playthrough when they're done translating the Arcueid route, at least. As far as I know, I think they're in process of translating the Ciel route. But yeah, they just finished the Arcueid route, and we're going to be continuing from where we left off. And hopefully this will be a much better translation, or at least it should be, considering it is not a machine translation. It's an actual, a legit fan translation. So yeah, I've been looking forward to getting back to this, and I'm sure everybody who's been watching the playthrough has been eagerly anticipating me continuing it. So that being said, let us sally forth with the Arcueid route. I think I kind of remember what happened in the last video. It was yeah, that's right. Okay, so this is after Arcueid, the encounter with Arcueid in the alleyway. It's morning. I grab my glasses from the bedside, put them on, and open my eyes. The sky visible through the window is a peaceful shade of blue. Despite it being such a bright and beautiful morning, my own feelings are shrouded in darkness. There's no need to ask why. The sight of Arcueid's profile as she apologized to me remains lodged in my brain. Let's just both forget. Forget what? The assault in the alleyway? Or about Arcueid entirely? Either way, it's impossible. I can't forget a single thing about her. I stare fixedly at my hands. My fingers still remember Arcueid's body. The feeling of her smooth skin. Her rising body heat. Okay. I'm sure that's what you remember. That's just that it kind of makes you think that like there is, I mean, I remember even during that scene I almost thought, like, is this about to turn into some kind of weird sex scene? I mean, I know in the original, actually in the original I think you actually did have an option to let's just say force Arcueid, or force yourself onto her, which fortunately that is not in here. I thought that was a pretty unsettling scene that I don't really know who would want to actually do that. My regrets are innumerable. If she'd killed me right then and there, I wouldn't have blamed her. Even so, nothing will change the fact that I acted selfishly. At that time, why couldn't I just think rationally? What if, instead of pawning at her like an animal, I'd caressed her as a human being? If I had... I grind my teeth at my selfish thoughts. It wasn't the sight of Arcueid's golden eyes that made me lose myself. The simple truth is that at some point I started being serious about her. Without really knowing why, I was completely charmed. For a long time now, probably ever since the moment she said she'd forgive a beast like me, I've been crazy about her. I don't give a damn about Roa. She's the only thing that matters. Though, I think it's best if we don't see each other anymore. I can't get that lonely smile out of my head. It's really too late. If only I'd realized sooner, I'd never have given her a reason to make that face. Yeah, this is so far a much better translation. At least I understand what's going on. I mean, I could still understand what was going on in the machine translated version, but there was a lot of things that just didn't make sense. Mostly because, of course, a lot of things got lost in translation. It's a morning like any other. Hisui comes and wakes me up. I head to the living room, where I run into Akiha and Kohaku-san. After making some small talk, I leave for school. It's just like it always is. I had put my life on the line to protect these ordinary moments. I should be satisfied. I didn't lose anything. And yet, I feel incredibly hollow inside. Whenever anyone spoke to me, I could only reply absent-mindedly, I left the peaceful mansion on autopilot, like a machine, just going through the motions. All of the students filtering through the main gate seem so cheerful. Everyone is abuzz with excitement at the prospect of tomorrow's day off. Huh. I guess today is Friday. It's Friday in California. I don't know if anybody knows about that meme. I'd been so busy keeping up with Arcueid the past couple of days that I completely lost track of what day of the week it is. Well, that's understandable. I mean, you're literally fighting for your life on a regular basis. You kind of lose track of those things. It was on a Friday morning that I first met her. She'd been waiting for me right here, at the intersection in front of the school. She was smiling, wasn't she? She was like that from the start. Even though she was waiting to ambush the bloodthirsty stranger who had killed her, her eyes were sparkling with excitement. I wonder why. I wish I could ask her. But I missed my chance. Never again will she come to the park at night. Yep, just continue your normal, everyday life as a high school student that just so happens to have powerful magic eyes. I take my seat. 5 minutes left until homeroom. Nothing to do now but stare aimlessly out at the schoolyard. Whoa, good morning. You playing hooky all the time was pretty conspicuous. Did you decide to get serious? I let out a heavy sigh. Ugh. This is where we normally hurl abuse at each other, but I just don't have it in me this morning. What's up with you? You don't look so good. You didn't even come to school yesterday, and when you do decide to show up, you're a shell of a man. It's no fun coming to school if you're like this, no sir. Arihiko shrugs his shoulders exaggeratedly. Sorry, but can you leave me alone today? Even if you don't have me, you've still got Senpai. Actually, isn't having me out of the picture a lucky break for you there? Huh? Senpai? I don't know any third years. What do you mean you don't? I'm talking about... Yeah, the character that hasn't even really shown up much at all on this route. I don't think she's really shown up at all. Like, I don't remember. If somebody wants to correct me, I don't think she's really been involved in this. I trail off mid-sentence. What senpai was I thinking of? I don't know any third years, same as Arihiko. Yeah, so this is the scene where everybody forgets about her. Oh, homeroom is starting. See you at lunch. Arihiko sneaks out through the door at the back of the classroom. As he leaves, in comes Noelle-sensei. Or not? It's the teacher from the next class over. Huh? Makuma-sensei? This is class 2C, you know. Do you take a wrong turn somewhere? Oh no, I'm in the right place. Your teacher up and quit this morning, so, well, here we are. Our laid-back math teacher breaks the news to us in a dull voice. No way! Noelle-sensei's gone? You can just quit being a teacher that easily? She couldn't even last a week. Jeez, talk about being too free-spirited. I knew that cougar was just another slut. Damn. I did hear her say bitch, so I mean, I guess that's an accurate translation. I mean, is she really a cougar, though? She doesn't look that old. I mean, she's probably like in her early 20s. A wail goes up from the young men that were in the Noelle faction. The Noelle faction. I just nod along absent-mindedly. I can't even bring myself to care that the hot teacher is gone. That also doubles as has a secret life as an assassin for the church. It's got nothing to do with me. It's not worth my time. I've already accepted that everything's over. The woman called Noelle only came here posing as a teacher in order to keep an eye on me, or rather, to check if I was Roa. If she's disappeared, that means there's no longer anything of interest to her here. I've been thoroughly cut off from the world of vampires. The final thread connecting Tonoshiki's world to Arcueid has been severed. Yep, and if she's gone, then Ciel's gone too. It's after school. Tomorrow is Saturday, so the instant homeroom ended, the other students scattered like newborn spiders. Well, that's it for my obligations as a student. The rest of the day is mine. Oh boy. Choice time? I do something? I don't know what to do. We don't even get to make a choice. I'm like a kite whose string has been cut. The duty I felt to protect this city, to defeat the vampire, is gone. If this is all my principles amounted to in the end, I should just let it all go. Pretending none of it ever happened would be the proper human choice to make. That woman is gone. Noel-sensei is gone. And besides, I was in over my head with all that vampire business anyway. That executor said that there's no such thing as a good vampire. Can I still believe that there are, even after seeing Arcueid like that? It's a very human thing to get out while you can, wise even. Could be your last chance to move on like none of this ever happened. That little boy with blonde hair also gave me a foul-mouthed warning. Yeah, this is a good opportunity, Tonoshiki. A chance to wash your hands of that whole violent affair and move on with your life. Okay. I'm going to forget any of this ever happened. We'll see this through to the end. Okay. I think we all know what the right choice here is, right? we're going to go with number 2. Yeah, that's right. It's now or never. I have no doubt about that. So now what? How are we going to find her? I'll never meet her again. I don't deserve to see her again. Even so, I will at least carry out my duty until the bitter end. I just want to take one last look at the woman I couldn't save. With that, I can put these feelings to rest, once and for all. I mean, do we know where she is? I don't think she's staying at the same place, is she? I'm in front of the site of the collapse. 6 days have passed since the inferno, and the area is completely silent. This park in front of the station used to be a site for relaxation. It's since become tragic ruins. In the past, this place was always bustling with people. Ciel should show up, though, at some point. I think she shows up pretty soon, actually. I don't think she completely disappears. She is involved in the Arcueid route, so it's hard to believe that she's not going to show up. People completely unrelated to me. People I'd never so much as crossed paths with. I can't write them off simply because I never knew them. And yet, I have written them off simply because I never knew them. It turns out, you can shelve all that guilt if you had nothing to do with it. If ignorance is a sin, every man is a sinner. If insincerity is evil, every man is a villain. That's why there's no reason for me to apologize for the scene before me. I'm not going to lament the deaths of people I've never met. Mourning these people just because it's sad would be wrong. Farewells are moments of remembrance for the living. A chance to shed tears as you thank the departed for all their achievements, as you reflect on how brightly they shone in life. To cry and apologize out of sadness is nothing more than a self-serving formality. That's why I can turn my back on this scene. Or at least, I thought I could. I'm an idiot, aren't I? And yet, I can't stay away forever. I'm not supposed to feel sad, nor am I supposed to feel bad. At the end of the day, I'm supposed to be a man concerned with his own survival. Even so, there's something about this that feels wrong. I can't bring down the curtain simply because I've lost everything. That's something that should only be done when you've accomplished all you set out to do and can hold your head up high. I got the feeling someone taught me that long ago. Some unknown individual from who knows where. Yeah, a particular woman with red hair. I hear footsteps behind me. I turn to see. There she is. It's about time she showed up. Someone wearing my school's uniform, but I don't remember. Right. Even though I should recognize the upperclassman standing there, I can't even remember her name. Good afternoon. Are you also here to offer flowers to the deceased? No, Senpai doesn't look away from the front of the barricade. Following her gaze, I see a great number of flowers swaying softly, their heads bobbing as if reminiscing about the deceased. I just came to do some soul searching. Though, I've still only found half the answer. In the end, I can't pretend that vampires don't exist. Not just the vampire called Roa. Her too. I simply can't forget like this. As I thought, you have a lot on your mind, don't you? Senpai doesn't so much as glance over at me. I make no attempt to meet her gaze either. I felt it was the polite thing to do in this situation, seeing as she's gone out of her way to come and give me some advice. To chase after Roa also means to chase after her. Do you understand what that means? Yes, I do. It's not as though I can accomplish anything without her, can I? It seems you don't understand after all. Chasing that woman will only get you killed. You mustn't meet Arcueid Brunstead again. And why is that? If a true ancestor succumbs to their vampiric urges even once, they're beyond saving. Even true ancestors desire blood. No, that's not quite right. The desire to suck human blood originated with them in the first place, and was only later passed on to people. At the end of the day, dead apostles are no more than the ruins of what was once human. The real monsters are the ones we call the true ancestors, the first vampires. She sees you as more of a blood bag than a collaborator. The first? What do you mean? Please don't tell me you've never thought about it. Humans only become vampires when their blood is sucked, so it follows that there must exist primordial beings that were vampires from the very beginning. Those bloodsuckers, which exist on their own evolutionary tree, are the true ancestors. Beings who do not require human blood to survive, and possess otherworldly powers on par with, no, surpassing those of the dead apostles. Even among the true ancestors, that woman is royalty. Though they don't really have the concept of social status, so calling her royalty isn't really correct. Her explanation leaves me at something of a loss for words. I'm surprised. I only said it because she felt so detached from the real world, but she really was a princess. Man, with a disposition so sunny it borders on airhead and a staggering disregard for common sense, she's not exactly the sort of princess you'd see in a picture book. Listen up. The bloodsuckers we call true ancestors possess vampiric urges far more sinful than those of the dead apostles. They can get by just fine without drinking human blood. However, perhaps something went wrong with their birth. They came to possess one single flaw, one single unnecessary function. I mean, of course, the vampiric urge, an innate desire, a craving for human blood. In the past, there didn't exist a single person that stood a chance if attacked by a true ancestor. Anyone in that position would have their blood sucked and cease to be human. Whether it's down to the sheer difference in life scale between us as species, or whether by sucking someone's blood they steal their very soul, no one knows. The moment someone's blood is stolen away by an almighty being like a true ancestor, they cease to be human. Instead, they become an offshoot of that vampire. In layman's terms, nothing more than a puppet. Even if that's not what the true ancestor who sucks their blood wants. I remember now. If I've got it right, dead apostles turn humans by transferring their own blood into them. On the other hand, true ancestors only need to suck a human's blood, right? Right, and the issue is that there is no reason behind their vampiric urges. In fact, their urges can't be stopped because there's no reason for them. The otherwise perfect life forms called true ancestors contain a flaw within them. Their sickness unto death, if you will. They live their entire lives suppressing that urge to suck blood. It's not just a matter of exercising reasoned self-restraint. It takes concrete physical effort, every drop of power they have, to keep that desire sealed away. By turning their own extreme abilities on themselves, they're able to suppress their innate vampiric urges. However, what do you think would happen to those urges they've held in for so long if a true ancestor's power were to suddenly deteriorate for reasons outside their control? If something were to cause their power to deteriorate? For instance, using their power to heal a grievous wound. I once killed Arcueid as thoroughly as it's possible to kill someone, and even though she revived, it must have taken an incredible amount of her power. Well, she did say that herself. Let's say that Arcueid has a total power of 10. She probably has to use around 7 of it to keep her urges in check. However, if her total power were to drop from a 10 to a 5, even if she were to allocate all of it to suppressing her desires, it still wouldn't be enough. In fact, she'd be in the red. What was she cutting down on in order to get the energy to regenerate? Then what? If a true ancestor is unable to suppress those urges, what becomes of them? They suck blood, as you'd expect. After that, there's nothing. Once they succumb to that urge, they'll just keep falling into depravity. I hear that once a true ancestor knows the taste of blood, the torture of resisting their urges grows twice as painful. As a result, they will never again be able to suppress their urges. True ancestors are an extremely powerful species, but since they have to dedicate so much of their strength to controlling those urges, they can never utilize the full extent of their power. However, a fallen true ancestor has no need for such restraint. They become hedonistic monsters who suck the blood of humans for nothing more than their own enjoyment. I remember how Arcueid looked last night. Her bloodshot eyes, her rough breathing. her searing breath on the back of my neck. No, but that's an outright lie. She's terrified of sucking blood. There's no way. Right. She's afraid. She's afraid because she knows that if she sucks blood even once, she'll never be able to hold herself back again. However, if there is a single reprieve, it's that these urges are momentary. In preparation for the time when they are unable to withstand their urges, each true ancestor prepares a single underling. This is the origin of the creatures we call dead apostles. Their apostles long since subsumed by death. Vampires kept alive to serve as the true ancestors' painkillers. This is how the vampires classified as dead apostles that now lurk in the city came to be. But Arcueid Brunstead doesn't have an underling like that. Well, it's more like there wasn't a need until now. She was special even among true ancestors in that she could suppress those urges through sheer force of will. However, she reached her limit last night. Those urges are unrelenting. They will never go away. This constant suppression causes a buildup, and before long, it overflows from its vessel. The longer they live, the stronger the urge grows. And when their own power isn't enough to stop those urges anymore, when those urges exceed their own abilities, their lives are ended by their fellow true ancestors. Such is the end of an endless creature. What the hell? Is that what a true ancestor really is? A creature that has to fight tooth and nail to hold back their own urges, suppressing their desire for blood, only to be killed at the hands of their own companions when they finally reach their limit? That's far from perfect. No matter how strong they are, if there was such a fatal error in their creation. No, she's fine though. Last night she went back to normal immediately. She may be weak right now because of me, but if her wounds heal and she can use her strength freely again, then surely... That's not possible. You see, she was already at her limit. Huh? It's said that she was born in the 12th century. Even if she's only been active for a fraction of that time, it doesn't change the fact that she has existed all those years. Sooner or later, the urges that have been lurking within her all that time will swallow her whole. It's honestly impressive that she's lasted this long. Arcueid is, a being without a future. Badump. This is a first. I'm struck by dizziness so severe I can barely see my hand in front of my face. Not as a result of my anemia, but because of someone's words. So then, why? If she herself knew that she couldn't go on anymore, then what was she doing hunting vampires in a place like this? It doesn't make sense. No matter how I think about it, it doesn't make sense. What you're saying doesn't make sense. I mean, if she knew her time was running out, there'd be no reason for her to come exterminating vampires for us. She doesn't dispose of vampires for our sake. It's simply her duty to do so. Her duty? Who decided that? The other true ancestors, of course. The 12th century, when she was born, was the era in which the true ancestors were at their most rampant. The true ancestors couldn't leave their fallen counterparts and the armies of the dead apostles they'd sired alone. To that end, they gave birth to a pure true ancestor, one who existed for the sole purpose of killing, who could serve as an executioner. The name of that true ancestor is Arcueid. That woman was like a missile, one launched from her castle. She would unfailingly seek out and destroy whatever vampire she'd been assigned as a target. Badump. My dizziness returns. Stop it. Stop talking about her like that. She's so good-natured and compassionate that despite knowing and carrying her own pain, she still helped us humans. Talking about her like she's just some weapon is pissing me off. No, she is a weapon. That was the only condition under which she was allowed to live from the very start. That's why I'm so puzzled by what's come over her ever since she came to the city. I've never seen her talk so much before. She's never said so much as a word until now. Huh? Now that's absurd. I don't know how you could possibly say that Chatterbox never spoke. After all, she doesn't do anything unnecessary. She's existed like that since antiquity, for hundreds and hundreds of years, ever since she came into being in that castle nestled among the mountains. Her life has been the same, never changing, never deviating. Badump. The sound of my heartbeat. I feel dizzy. My vision dims. What is going on? Images of scenery I could never have known, memories of things I could never have seen, all unfold before my eyes like a waking dream. Arcueid's castle? The final paradise, sprawled among the mountains. The wilderness of Genesis, evocative of the inner sea of the planet. The courtyard of the castle rooted within that domain. A woman is poised amidst that sea of white blossoms, as though asleep. She had no surplus knowledge, no freedom. The only time she was allowed to leave was when she had been assigned a new target. When that happened, she would be taught only as much as was necessary in order for her to execute her mark. There was nobody else there, nobody to talk to, nobody to meet her. After she returned from eliminating the vampire she'd been assigned as a target, her knowledge would be washed away, and she would be put back to sleep. She was kept locked away, knowing nothing, lest she pick up anything extraneous to her sole purpose of killing vampires. Nothing else. The joy of meeting someone's gaze, and the fulfillment felt from exchanging conversation. She was never to be given either. She was strong enough to destroy even the fallen true ancestors. But it's ironic. Truly excessive power can bring misfortune. She was shunned even among her fellow true ancestors. Even while praising the princess, nobody would come near her. Even though she had been bestowed a castle, her world was limited to a gloomy basement, and so there was never anything there to grant her emotions. The true ancestors treated her as though they were maintaining a weapon. After all, there's no need to give a weapon extraneous features. Weapons do not need the function of baking bread or doing laundry. If you were going to attach unnecessary features like that, you might as well add more weapon-appropriate features instead, right? I've always been taught never to do anything unnecessary. She'd said that in a sing-song voice. That's why her gaze had been so empty when she had said she always decided on things by herself. For her, other people had never been necessary. They didn't exist. Even if that was only because she didn't know about it. The only thing that the true ancestors cared for her to be was an exceptional executor. Therefore, she didn't know anything else. Words and feelings didn't exist for her. She's a monster on a higher level than even the inhuman dead apostles. There was never any meaning or significance to that being's life. That may be so, and yet she was always so cheerful, laughing happily at even the most trivial of things. That's why I came to the conclusion she'd always been like that. What a cruel misunderstanding. She was just... I mean, I had so much fun. Up until now, I never thought I could be so happy from just being like this, from just existing. That was an anxiety that I could not comprehend. In that classroom, bathed in the light of the setting sun, she'd confided in me with that unassuming voice. Despite how long Arcueid has been around, she understands less about what it means to be alive than even we do. If we only consider the time during which she'd been permitted to mobilize, she's been alive for a surprisingly short period of time. She has spent the vast majority of her lifetime asleep, no doubt a deep, dark sleep at that. There is no way that she could have developed anything resembling humanity in such a dreamless sleep. Really? I find just talking like this to be pretty fun. And so, after passing judgment on all the fallen true ancestors, there was no longer any reason for her to leave her castle. Because her goals were more or less achieved, the true ancestors tried to give her an honest education. However, she was never able to become truly free. As for why, as the result of a truly trivial misunderstanding, she massacred the other true ancestors left in the castle. I see. Having only been taught to kill vampires, she dutifully carried out her orders to the very end, just as she'd been instructed to. In the end, she was the only one that remained. After executing all of her kin, the true ancestors who had raised her, she secluded herself in her castle. She sat on the throne of a castle now devoid of any other true ancestors, bound by thousands of chains that stretched all the way to the castle ramparts. Each time the vampire called Roa reincarnates, she briefly awakens from her slumber in order to carry out her duty. Inside that deterministic world, she never spoke even a single word. Those are Arcueid Grunsted's true colors. She is an executioner by nature. Even now that the true ancestors binding her are gone, she continues to prowl about for the sole purpose of hunting vampires. I presume there is nothing else she finds enjoyment in. That's a lie. I was about to say, we know that's not true. That's not all what brought her joy. I didn't pick up on it at all, neither in her words nor in her delighted smile. If only I had taken a better look, I would have understood. I didn't realize how alone she'd been all this time. Dumb conversations about nothing with a kindred spirit, the fun of somehow letting the time slip away. The simple tranquility of the idle hours of the evening, all these things that we normally think nothing of. She was happy because she had never experienced that trivial repetition of events up until now. That's a lie. What's so incredibly frustrating is that she herself didn't even have an inkling of how absurd the path she'd been walking was. I simply can't stand that her past, everything she's experienced up until now, is such a cruel, unjust tale. It's all a lie. I really had only ever found half the answer. I will never in my whole life understand what I should do. But at least now, I've finally found something I want to do. I don't want her to feel like she's lucky to experience these commonplace things. If I made these experiences things that she felt were always within her grasp, then just how? Hello? The unfamiliar upperclassman's voice snapped me back to reality. This is Tonoshiki's reality. I took a long detour, but thanks to that, I feel refreshed. Were you even listening to me? No, I'm sorry. I didn't catch any of that. I thought I heard my senpai talking, but it also sounded like there was someone else speaking to me there. Senpai sighs and nods, not entirely satisfied. So basically, That's enough. It doesn't matter to me what Arcueid's up to, or how dangerous of a person she is. At the end of the day, I killed her. I need to take responsibility for the mess I caused, and make it up to her with interest. That's what I want to do right now. I don't want her to be alone anymore. I see. Though, is that truly your burden to carry? In truth, no matter how much I want it to be, none of this is actually Tonoshiki's responsibility. That's why Senpai has come here to appeal to me to stand back and stay out of it. Take down the enemy that Arcueid came here to fight and protect the city? That's just whitewashing the truth. You should just say it like it is. You know what you're doing, right? You're going out to kill some stranger for Arcueid's sake. Yeah, but... I raise my head. Before me are the bouquets of flowers left in memory of the deceased. And if I turn around, I can see the familiar city where life plods along same as ever. It's so dazzling I get a little lightheaded. The thing I couldn't save. The thing she shortened her own lifespan to protect. The thing we naturally ought to prioritize above all else, knowing where we can find our own happiness. Honestly, what a fool I've been. But to me, she's just as important as all that. No, she's even more important. If you're saying she's a vampire who doesn't care about humans, then you can call me a bloodthirsty murderer who doesn't care about vampires. Values differing from those of a decent human being. I can accept that. To humanity, I'm the same as Vlav or Roa, the lowest of the low. In exchange, all I want is to be with Arcueid. I'm amazed. I didn't realize that you were already such a lost cause. I'm truly sorry. My sister's stubbornness must have rubbed off on me. Your sister, huh? Well, that's fine, but... Because I'm feeling generous, here's some free advice. True ancestors who have succumbed to their vampiric urges even once will never fully recover. If she shows herself to you again, it will be because she's come to suck your blood. What Senpai says may be true for her. However, it's not true for me. That's not going to happen. After all, she still hasn't sucked any blood. No, if Noelle hasn't stopped her, she would have sucked yours. You're wrong. After all, she stopped, didn't she? She was fine, really. That's why, even if nobody had interfered, the result would have been the same. Yeah, that's right. Arcueid's fangs had definitely stopped moving. I suppose a born fool is never cured. Well, I've got to catch a flight, so this is it for me. My annoying superior arrived and I've been demoted. Senpai passes me by. Without ever having met my gaze or said her name, she simply takes her leave. I do have one question though. Why am I the only one who remembers you? I still can't remember her name, but I definitely remember this person. I simply forgot to erase your memory. That too will end here. And now he forgets. The flowers left in memory of the dead are swaying softly. Turning around, I see the retreating figure of an upperclassman, but I can't remember their face, let alone their name. I listen to their departing footsteps. After bowing once in thanks, I too begin to walk back to the place I need to be. Yeah, so the encounter with Ciel is pretty different in the original visual novel. I kind of like it here too. But yeah, in the original, I think it was like she came to the mansion to talk to us about Arcueid. I head back to the mansion. I didn't go to Arcueid's apartment. I wonder if she's still going to be involved in the fight with Roa though, because she was in a way in the original game, so I don't know if they might have changed that here. She probably wouldn't even have been there if I had, and besides, I have something else I should be doing. I'll catch her after that. Back to the creepy mansion with our tsundere sister and our weird maids. Welcome back, Shiki-sama. Oh, and also we can't forget about Dr. Iraq and the dude with bandages on his face. For some reason I forgot his name. Hisui greets me as soon as I come in the door. I'm home. Thanks as always, Hisui. I sincerely thank her for her thoughtfulness. She must have been waiting all this time. I've caused a lot of problems for Hisui by not taking that thoughtfulness into account. That's why, even if just for today, I wanted to do things by the book and return to the mansion before sunset so that she can fulfill her duties. Another awkward dinner. Maybe not. Maybe it's not so awkward for once. After having dinner with Akiha, I leave the dining room. I think I was able to play the part of an older brother well enough. The conversation between Akiha, Kohaku-san, and I was both down to earth and spirited. Well, compared to how things used to be, at least. That's definitely a change. I return to my room and pack up my belongings. Well, I say belongings, but it's really just my textbooks. He really didn't take much with him. The knife that's ended up being part of my everyday carry is already tucked away in my inside breast pocket, so the only other things I need to grab are my phone and the white ribbon. Alright, I tidy my room and take a deep breath. I never would have guessed that I'd be bidding my own room farewell again so soon. I fully intend to return, but you never know what might happen. It doesn't hurt to say my thanks now, just on the off chance I never make it back. I turn off the lamp. It's 9:30. The perfect time to leave the mansion. It's past your curfew, Shiki. Well, at least that way they won't really notice you leave. I arrive at the park just before 10 o'clock. There's not another soul in sight. I sit down on a bench and wait for Arcueid to arrive, mindlessly waiting as though I'm just here to count the seconds as they tick away. I'm not sure why she would show up here, though. I considered running around the city like I did last night, but I'm sure it wouldn't be of any use. Well, I mean, I'm not sure how waiting in the park would be of much more use than running around aimlessly around the city. I mean, if she goes out of her way to avoid running into me, I have no hope of catching her. So pretty much we're just kind of crossing our fingers that she's going to show up here. We're just hoping that she will show up. I'm sure she conveniently will, though, of course. Yeah, that's why. I'll just wait here. And we'll be waiting a very long time. We made a promise, after all. We decided together to rendezvous here. We still haven't fulfilled tonight's promise. Well, I guess that being taken into consideration, I guess it's maybe more likely she might show up. I can't just crumple that promise up and throw it away. If Arcueid also considers it important, she'll come back here too. Continuing to believe and wait, that's the best atonement I can offer. Time marches on. The hands on my watch carefully and accurately mark the passing hours. It's gotten so late, I feel like I'm suffocating. My body can't bear another minute of waiting. It wants to race off and start searching for her at once, not just sit here and wait like an ornament propped on a shelf. Despite that, my mind is calm. In the middle of the night, I stare fixedly at the moon and continue to wait. It's terribly quiet. It's like she and I are the only ones left in the world. If I can wait for her in a world like that, then no matter how many hours it takes, even if I end up waiting forever, I won't feel any pain. That's why I'm so happy right now that I can hardly breathe. The moon that had been twinkling overhead is beginning to dim. 3 hours left until daybreak. If the sun rises, it'll all be over for sure. Never again will Arcueid and I spend the night together, feeling this sense of contentment. Or so it feels anyway. I let slip a pitiful sigh. Was it a sigh at the ridiculousness of this situation, or a sigh of dejection? Even I don't know. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Amidst the shadows behind the pavilion, I've been catching the occasional glimpse of a figure in white. It seems the person in question is trying to conceal themselves, but are absolutely hopeless when it comes to stealth. I'm just imagining her like she's oh god, I can't believe I forgot her name. Makoto, like she's Makoto from Persona 5, where she's like trying to sneak around like while tailing Joker. It's kind of like that, I guess. Hey, it's already 3 in the morning. Just how long were you planning on keeping me waiting, dumbass? Without standing up from the bench, I call out to the other side of the pavilion. I hear a poorly stifled gasp. After a few seconds, I guess she gave up on trying to hide as she suddenly pops out into the open, like a rabbit appearing in a snowy field. Arcueid doesn't say anything. She doesn't approach the bench I'm sitting on either. She just stands there with her eyes downcast. Arcueid. I call her name, but she doesn't even look up at me, let alone respond. I'm at a loss for what else to say. The words I'd been piecing together in my mind all vanished the moment I saw that face. Damn it, I just don't know what I can say that'll bring a smile back to her face. I get the sense that no matter what I say right now, it'll only make her even sadder. So just say nothing. Just let it be awkward. It feels as though this moment is stretching on forever. In reality, probably fewer than 100 seconds expire under the second hand of my watch. Arcueid suddenly looks up, as though something has caught her attention. Shiki, you just won't go home, will you? I ended up coming because I couldn't stand to leave you like this. I really was planning on just going back to my apartment, you know. Her voice faltered slightly here and there as she spoke, but for the most part, it carried the same cheerful tone it always held. Yeah, I'm not going home. You said we shouldn't see each other anymore, but that's got nothing to do with this. We promised to rendezvous here. Aren't we going to take down that vampire together? I also imagine that meme of the skeleton on the bench, like Shiki's just waiting there for Arcueid, and it's just, he just dies there. That's why I want you to stop making that face. I find myself desperately wanting to shake off my own self-restraint and just capture her. I can't believe it. You're still talking about that? Yeah, I said I wouldn't break our promise, didn't I? I haven't helped you yet tonight. It's fine. You don't need to worry about it anymore. You should go on home. As for Roa, I'll deal with him one way or another. It's fine? What's fine, Arcueid? Doesn't it go without saying? I'm a vampire. You're a human. It's as simple as that. I don't even deserve your help. I should never have asked you to cooperate with me. Because I couldn't even realize that I very nearly ruined you. That's why. That's enough, I hear her mutter. I suppress the urge to scream. Why even mention that now? I've been prepared for that eventuality from the moment I said I'd cooperate with you. I knew what I was getting into when I made that vow. But ending things like this, where's the good in that? Arcueid, if it's about what happened here, then you don't need to worry about it. Your body is weak right now, and you're just a little worn out. Because I'm an idiot, I didn't notice your lies. It wasn't your physical injuries that were tormenting you. It was your vampiric urges. You didn't act the way you did because you actually wanted my blood. Damn them. When did the burial agency get so chatty? Arcueid lets out a sigh, her expression more tired than hateful. Yeah, I've heard everything, and now that I have, I'm gonna tell you something. It's not a problem you can't overcome, Arcueid. It's tough right now, but won't you be back to normal in a few days? So there's really no need for you to worry. And that night, even though it was agonizing, you were able to endure it, weren't you? And that's why it'll be okay. You can keep on going, same as you did before. Arcueid manages a frail, forlorn smile. You just don't get it at all, Shiki. It's impossible, now that it's come to this. Because even now, I'm probably still craving your blood. But you're unsure, so give it all you've got and fight it. I mean, that's just how you've been keeping it together until now, right? You're right. I've been keeping myself in check like that until now, or rather, I was able to keep myself in check that way. But it seems like it's no use now. Despite my only purpose being to kill vampires, I ended up doing all sorts of unnecessary things. I really am a fool. If only I'd remained blissfully ignorant, I never would have desired anything. I should have just gone after the enemy myself, without relying on you. If I'd done that, I would have been able to settle it all by myself. It's no good. Going up against her really does bring out the worst in me. I mean, what she just said has got me really pissed off. So much of it makes me want to cry. You would have been better off doing it alone? I don't care whether it's an outright lie or just a bluff. Don't go spouting that garbage while making a face like that. God, you're getting on my nerves with that crap. That's enough from you, Her Majesty, Princess of Stupidity. Wow, roasted. Tearing my hair out, I stand up from the bench and scream my head off at Arcueid. What did you just call me? Princess of Stupidity? Well, she is an airhead. I sure did. If that's not enough for you, how about world-class idiot? Maybe even galactic dimwit? Anything you can stick biggest fool in the before works. What the hell do you mean you could have settled it yourself? Wasn't it because you realized that it was impossible? That there are some things that can't be done alone? That you asked me for help? If it was, then rely on me until the end. I'll help you, no matter what, regardless of what you say or do. I'll help you until the end, so please, for your own sake. Never again. Please don't say things like, that's enough, ever again. Not now. Not now that she's finally begun to think that life can be fun. I don't want her to let go of that simple happiness so easily. Shiki, are you crying? Of course not. Why would I be crying for your sake? Even supposing my eyes are wet right now, it's just because I'm angry. Sure, keep telling yourself that. Arcueid was spouting such absurd nonsense earlier that my emotions got the better of me, that's all. Forget it. Let's just keep searching for vampires already. If we kill that Roa guy, you'll be able to rest, right? If we do that, then everything will turn out fine. There'll be no problems left. Not wanting her to see my moist eyes, I turn and talk over my shoulder. Quietly, and with awfully calm eyes, Arcueid nods her head. But it just won't work after all, Shiki. You said that I was able to endure it back then, back when I touched the nape of your neck. But the truth is, I wasn't. The only reason I stopped for a moment was because you, Shiki, were afraid of me. I've been feared by who only knows how many humans up until now. Because of that, the revulsion they directed at me had long lost all meaning. But isn't it strange? When you looked at me like that, I just couldn't stand it. At the end of the day, I'm a monster in your eyes, aren't I? She chuckles. A dry, forced laugh. You're wrong. I wasn't scared of you or anything. It was just so sudden that I got a little surprised. A lie. A lie I couldn't even fool myself with. Arcueid averts her gaze, a pained look in her eyes. The kind of lie Sensei warned me about. A lie you can't even fool yourself with will only hurt the people close to you. That's the reason I stopped for that instant. I was terrified of you seeing me that way. If you were to look at me again with those eyes, I'd definitely fall apart. So I thought, I shouldn't meet with you anymore. That'd be the best for both of us. Thank you for waiting for me, Shiki. But with this, our rendezvous are over. I think we've gotten too close. Suddenly, she turns her back to me. It was as if she didn't want to see my face as she spoke those words. What she said is certainly true. If the two of us hadn't gotten to know each other so deeply, this would never have happened. I'd have easily fallen back into the routine of my ordinary life, and Arcueid would have gone on alone, as she always has. And neither of us would be worried about the other. You're right. We really have gotten too close. But I think that's just fine. I mean, isn't it lonely to be always out there on your own? Arcueid does not respond. I see her shoulders tremble, if only for a moment. You don't need to worry about the city. I'll definitely kill Roa.
Even if I end up going down too, I'll definitely kill him. That's why you can stop now. This city will return to its original state. There'll be no reason for you to worry anymore. The voice over her shoulder doesn't have any of its normal cheerfulness. I can't bear it anymore. I'm done with just standing here and listening. Dummy, that's not what I'm worried about at all. I approach Arcueid. I reach out to that fleeing back, place a hand on her shoulder, and forcibly turn her around. Shiki? If I have to come out and say it for you to understand, then so be it. Listen, when I said I would help out, it wasn't about taking down the vampires that have been running amok in the city. In reality, I never had any such grandiose motivations about wanting to protect the city I live in. I may have lied and said that I did, but I was just trying to convince myself as much as anyone else. It was nothing more than a shameless excuse. It's simple. It's because I love you. It's because I wanted to be of help to you that I said I'd work with you. Oh, he really just came out and said that. And at this point, I can't just pretend I don't. I say it clearly. I wrap my arms around her and hold her trembling body close. There was no opposition in Arcueid's voice. Dumbfounded, standing perfectly still, she accepts my embrace. If you think you want my blood, then that's just fine with me. At the soft sensation, I feel a burning thirst. Shiki, you're hurting me. My arm. Her voice in my ear sets my heart on fire. In fact, it makes us even. You see, with my gaze, I say the things that shouldn't be put into words. I also think I've always wanted you. Even here, like this, hearing your heartbeat is driving me mad with lust. Okay. This is another scene where I think I would just, I mean, I know there's no H scenes, but there's just stuff like this in the game where you're like, okay, this just seems like it's about to turn into that. But don't. Like they're just going to have sex right here in the park. Emanating from the arms I'm holding tight, from the body pressed against mine, I can feel the palpitations of Arcueid's heart. You've got it wrong, Shiki. Those feelings for me are just nothing more than a momentary obsession. Even so, it's fine. If in this moment I love Arcueid, then that's Tono Shiki's truth. I don't care what comes after. Unless you hate me? But the rhythm of her heartbeat falters. No, that question won't be answered. I no longer feel her heartbeat. Instead, I feel her arms wrapped tightly around my back, as if in response. At first, it was gentle, but soon it became so fervent as to be more than just an answer. Arcueid drew me close with both arms, squeezing my body against hers. The embrace lasted but a moment. I'm not even really sure myself who ended it, but as if by some unspoken agreement, we release our entwined arms to meet each other's gaze. Arcueid's head remains bowed, but she's blushing nonetheless. Moved by her expression, I let out a sigh of relief. She's really here, right now, right in front of me. I'm certain that the two of us will never again be apart. I'm so glad. I finally caught you, Arcueid. To be honest, I was terrified. I did something unspeakable to you back then, even while believing you'd keep the promise we made. I knew there was a chance that I might never see you again. Arcueid's hair flutters. She lifts her head as if she has something to say, but as soon as she meets my gaze, she looks away again, blushing. That won't do, Shiki. Even though I said to forget about it. Arcueid's voice is frail. Just how much more insensitive can I get? Arcueid was trying to avoid bringing up what happened in that alley out of consideration for me. I'm sorry. I was a fool. I guess I don't have the right to call you one anymore, do I? That's not it. If there's someone who needs to take responsibility, it's me. That's why I said to forget about it. I don't believe it. Maybe she isn't a vampire after all, but some sort of succubus. How the hell am I supposed to forget when she looks at me like that? No, you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm an idiot because of what happened last night. What makes me an idiot is that no matter what I do, I can't forget the things I'm better off not knowing. Shiki, you know, from this morning I've done nothing but think of you. How was I going to apologize when I met you? What was I going to say? I spent the whole day thinking about it. And yet, even while I was thinking about how to apologize, I couldn't get what happened back there out of my mind. I started having foolish thoughts about how I wanted to touch you just one more time. No, over and over again. Arcueid averts her gaze from me. I'm the same way. I can't look straight at her anymore. Realizing I might have just said the unspeakable, I can't look her in the eyes. But it's the honest truth. It wasn't Arcueid's mystic eyes that made me do what I did. I was just crazy about her, and I still am. There's no reply from Arcueid. We were each waiting for the other to say something, and so the silence just stretched on. Well, if we're both being honest, her words came hesitantly, shyly, as though quietly owning up to a prank. I wasn't able to forget either, Shiki. While gazing directly into my eyes, she says those words. Crap. I embraced her a little too forcefully. But who could blame me? If a face like that doesn't drive you crazy, you'd better just resign from your post as a living thing. Well, anyway. What's going on here? Sorry for hugging you so suddenly. I really am an animal, aren't I? I hear a soft chuckle escape her lips. Leaning into me, Arcueid wraps both her arms around my back once more. Shiki, I'm impressed. She pulls me tight with her arms. This sensation, I feel like I'm melting. Impressed? Care to elaborate? You're so rough. You're more barbarous than any dead apostle I've ever come across. I couldn't help but laugh. I'm sorry. I'm all too aware of that myself. But it's funny, isn't it? Killer boy and victim girl embracing each other like this. As she whispers that, Arcueid's body starts trembling. Is her wound hurting? You okay, Arcueid? Yeah, I'm just happy, I guess. I'm overflowing with emotions right now. My body is so flooded with relief, it's like I've lost control over my cheeks. I don't even know what sort of face I'm making right now. Hey, Shiki, can you tell what sort of face I'm making right now? How should I know? I can't see your face while we're hugging. Well, except I squeeze my arms around her just a little tighter. With just the right amount of force, I hold Arcueid close. Except, I'm sure that I'm making the same one. I've been grinning like an idiot for some time now. We laugh, our bodies pressed together. It isn't lust so much as a strong joy that warms our chilled bodies. Hey, Shiki. I hear her whisper directly into my ear. She murmurs to me with a drowsy peacefulness in her voice. If you're going to protect me, I don't want you to go home tonight. She buries her face in my shoulder. There's only an hour left until dawn. The night is fading. Arcueid's time is over. I feel the same way. There's no way I could bear to part with Arcueid now. Oh boy. Arcueid's apartment is the same as ever. We're the ones who have changed. I can feel her presence behind me. I'm so worked up that if I turn around, I'll end up doing something. And yet, my mind is clear. I don't really get it, but I guess to love something is to hold on to these contradictory impulses, to simultaneously stay sane and lose your mind. Arcueid. I go to turn around. But as I do, Arcueid lightly touches my back. Don't turn around. Let's just stay like this for a little while. Arcueid's voice is calm. The hand she placed on my back stays perfectly still, as though to reaffirm that this is real. Hey Shiki, do you remember the first time we met? When I waited for you? Of course I remember. The person I killed was lying in wait for me with a smile on their face. No way I could forget that. Yeah. You know, at the time, I really hated you. In contrast to her words, Arcueid's voice is incredibly gentle. I already knew that I couldn't hold back my vampiric urges much longer. I chased after Roa, knowing that this was almost certainly my last chance. But right when I thought I'd finally found him, some stranger killed me. Everything was ruined. At that time, I was filled with nothing but hatred. Driven by it, I tracked down my killer, and then waited for you to come. I waited on that road for so long. Come on, hurry up and get here already. I was itching for you to show up and notice me so that I could make you suffer the exact same fate. I really hated you. I kept on waiting, my hate building and building, until it felt like my heart would burst. The hand on my back presses harder. Arcueid? But you know, nobody had ever killed me like that before. I started to get just a little curious about what kind of person they might be. On top of that, I'd never felt so strongly about anyone before. At the start, I only felt hate, but when I started wondering about what you were like, my emotions got all turned around. I couldn't bear to wait a second longer. I wanted to meet you already. The person who killed me so brutally, who made me lose sight of myself for the first time. The person I just couldn't stop thinking about. Shiki, about what you said earlier, that being by yourself is lonely. I never thought that way, but thinking about that lunatic, that feeling of impatiently waiting for you to show up already, that was true happiness. At the time, I really wanted to rush off and find you myself, but I'm glad I waited for you to come to me. The time I spent waiting was fun. I was really excited wondering what sort of person you were, letting my imagination run wild. Arcueid withdraws her hand from my back. Now that I think about it, ever since then, I felt like I needed someone, like being on my own isn't enough anymore. You said you loved me, but before I'd even met you, I'd already fallen in love with you.
Oh god, this is getting so sappy. There's nothing but tenderness in Arcueid's voice. There's no longer any need to hesitate. Although I'm pretty sure this is written much better than it was in the original visual novel with, how the sex scene played out. I turn around and unreservedly embrace her. There we go. There's the quote-unquote H scene. Our lips meet on their own. I'm not sure which of us wished for it. Maybe both of us did. A simple, tender kiss. We press our lips together as if trying to bring our existences even closer to each other. I hold my breath and take in the feeling of being in contact with Arcueid. Her soft lips, the touch of skin on skin, in places where we had never come in contact before. Even though these thoughts are enough to make my head feel like it's going to explode, I let out a deep sigh of relief as I embrace the warm sensation of her body. Arcueid is quivering softly, but it's not because she's afraid. Her closed eyes, her flushed rosy cheeks, she's unbearably adorable. Her breathing is hot and shallow. Arcueid is wholly enraptured. I could never have imagined this alone would make her seem so much lovelier than she did before. Our lips gently part. Our arms still woven together, we stare into each other's eyes. Just now, that was a kiss. She stares up at me with those red eyes. Her golden hair dances softly before me. Arcueid, do you not like this? No, I'm just really flustered. But I can certainly hear her heart pounding in her chest, and I can feel mine beating just as hard. But I'm a little worried. Was I good? Was what good?
Well, Shiki. Vampires don't join their lips like this, Her cheeks are red. She spoke shyly, as though incredibly embarrassed. You! With that move, it's checkmate. My mind goes blank. I no longer even know that I'm a human called Tonoshiki. I collapse onto the bed with Arcueid still in my arms. I go to touch her skin, to run my hands through her hair, but I stop short. Damn, I'm breathing too heavily. I won't make the same mistake a second time. No matter how much I want her, I can't just give in to my own emotions at the expense of hers. Arcueid looks up and sees the face I'm making. It's okay, Shiki. Shall we pick up from before? Trembling with a mixture of bashfulness and anxiety, she smiles up at me with eyes full of joy, as if to overcome those feelings. Our breathing overlaps. Our skin melts together as one. Okay. You can't tell me there's not something about to happen here, like... Our frenzied emotions have laid our hearts and bodies bare. We explore each other, at times greedily, at times delicately, as if trying to plumb the depths of each other's emotions. Okay, I see what he's doing. So he's gonna kind of gloss over it. He's gonna imply it, I guess. But he's not gonna show anything. Okay. So technically, there are no H scenes, but there are some. They happen off camera, I guess, is the implication. That's a clever way of doing it. See, I don't mind that. At least, it makes sense here, the way, it being implied like that. With a deep breath, I sink back onto the bed. Man, I may be saying this as someone that doesn't dream, but that experience was dreamlike. Arcueid is lying next to me, asleep. Her breathing is peaceful, and she's grasping my hand contentedly. Looking back, I'm a little embarrassed. I don't feel a smidgen of regret about embracing Arcueid. It's just, I wanted to savor the feeling of her skin, her blushing face, for even a little while longer. I guess I'm not ready yet. It takes all I've got just to keep up. I wonder if there will ever come a time when I'll be able to remain calm around Arcueid's body. I mean, just now, I really don't even remember what I did. Yeah, we're not even too... We're totally not sure what happened just now. We have no idea what might have happened here. Literally, all I can remember is that it felt better than anything I'd ever experienced before. Well, yeah. No idea what it could be referring to. Regardless of how good it felt, the truth is that if I took another step right now, I'd collapse from exhaustion. Stifling my yawn, I watch Arcueid's sleeping face. I really love her, and Arcueid responded to that one-sided feeling. I mean, is it really one-sided if she responds to it? The exact nature of it may be a little different from the love I feel, but I'm sure she needs me too. Okay. I guess that makes sense. That alone is enough to make me incredibly happy. Not just because I'm wanted by someone, but because Arcueid, who had been alone all this time, has finally come to rely on someone else. That's what truly makes me happy. Yeah, if she does, then from now on. I feel faint as my consciousness begins to slip away. In spite of myself, it seems like this is my limit. I turn onto my back, take a deep breath, and relax. I must have been tired beyond belief. My consciousness immediately sinks without a trace. I'm in a deep sleep. I'm having a dream in which Arcueid has woken up before me and is doing something bad. She seems to be skulking around on her own, getting ready to put her mischief into motion. I try to ask her what she's doing. Huh? Shiki, you're awake? Yeah, but I'm still a little spaced out. Thanks to Arcueid, my body is not yet able to move as I want it to. Man, sex with a vampire must really wear you out. I see. I'm happy, but also a little embarrassed. Arcueid smiles girlishly. I find it a little strange that I can understand her gestures even with my eyes closed, but she looks so happy that I abandon such trivial questions. Hey, Shiki. What's with the serious tone? You're worn out too. You should just sleep until night falls. If I turned into a real vampire, what would you do? That's a weird thing to ask, but that would never happen. After all, she's afraid of drinking blood. That's why. This is just a what if. We talked before about how snuffing out the life of another living creature in order to survive is the natural order of things. That's why. If, hypothetically, I ended up like that... Stop it. There's no way that would happen. And I'm not a fan of what ifs. I told you that clearly before. Really? I like what ifs. You might not know where you're going to end up, but in the moment you always feel like there's some kind of salvation out there. Now that I think about it, this isn't the first time you've brought this up. Yeah, that's why. I wonder what I would have done if you hadn't turned out to be so kind. Arcueid? I love you, Shiki. It's thanks to your kindness that I can feel this way, and that I can put this feeling into words. Arcueid is crying, isn't she? So, before you wake up, I'm going to go. I couldn't say goodbye face to face. Please forgive me. Wait, if we're not awake, then how is she talking to us? The door closes with a click. While I slept, I dimly heard that noise. Was she like talking to us in a dream or something? I guess she could do that. Ugh. I open my eyes. The sun is shining brightly, even through the curtains. I look over at the clock and see it's just turned noon. Crap! School! I bolt upright. Hold on. Today's Saturday. There's no need to worry about going to school. If there's something I should be worried about, it's that I spent the night in Arcueid's apartment without contacting the mansion. Well, Akiha is on the warpath for sure. Oh yeah, I feel like I had a weird dream. A dream where I spoke with Arcueid, and at the end, she gave me a kiss. I must have a screw loose or something. I guess seeing pleasant dreams like that is further evidence of just how happy it makes me to be here, next to Arcueid as she continues to doze in bed. Well, she's not going to be there, is she? Wouldn't you agree, Arc? I turn to look at the bed. My voice catches in my throat. Arcueid? I stare at the bed, dumbfounded. There's nobody there. Arcueid's figure is nowhere to be found. With that, I'm off. In my dream. She said something like that. Wait! I scour the apartment. There's no sign of Arcueid. It's like she was never here. The only thing I did find was a solitary scrap of paper left on the table. Oh, she was kind enough to leave a note. What? Is this some kind of joke? What language is this? On that scrap of paper is written a single word. Adieu. What the? I don't want to believe it. But what's worse is that I can understand why she's done this. How could she? You've got to be kidding me. She can't leave with nothing more than an adieu. Not after making that promise. Even though she promised we'd stick together. Even though I told her I'd stand by her until the bitter end. Why? Why are you going back to being alone? Why the hell, Arcueid? Screaming at the top of my lungs, I crush the piece of paper. And then, I dart from the room and run around the city like a man possessed. And she is nowhere to be found, of course. I won't find Arcueid. I know that. I'm painfully aware that she'll never appear in front of me again. Even so, I can't just give up. I'll lose my mind if I do. I need to catch her so that I can chew her out for being such an idiot, but try as I might, I can't find her. At this point, it's certain that we'll never meet again. Whatever we had, it's over. Irrevocably so. She's gone to settle the score with Roa alone, and after that she'll disappear. No, she probably already handled all of that and left the city long ago. I lost the ability to think straight even before I went mad. I hear the shrill cry of a cicada echoing in my ear. A cicada's cast-off shell. Oh no, not this again. Not this again. My body feels so insubstantial, so hollow, I'm no longer able to even think. So this is what it's like for your soul to leave your body. Not even tears will come. Devoid of everything, my legs begin to move. The homing instinct of an animal. Nothing is left in me, and yet I start walking, returning to my own bed. Oh man. Get ready to be chewed out by Aki, huh?